Welcome to the Geostrategic Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. If you want the fast track, the shortcut to understanding the really critical strategic shifts happening around the globe, well, you're definitely in the right place. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're cutting straight to it. We're looking at something pretty big in regional air power. The strategic implications of Israel offering its Sky Sting missile to the Indian Air Force, and crucially, how this isn't just about hardware, but how it changes the whole India-Israel defense relationship almost instantly.
That's right. It's a significant move.
Our mission here, really, is to unpack quickly how this specific weapon system redraws the geostrategic map. We're focusing hard on what it means for, potential future conflicts or competition, specifically with Pakistan and China. It really boils down to this new 250-kilometer threat radius. Why does that number matter so much right now?
And that urgency, that's really the heart of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What we're looking at here, it's much more than just India buying some advanced missiles. This deal signals a major, and I mean immediate, shift in doctrine for the Indian Air Force. And it also really cements Israel's position. They've gone from being a, reliable arms supplier to, effectively, New Delhi's closest partner in high-tech defense. It's built on a foundation of deepening strategic trust.
Okay, so let's get into the specifics. The missile itself, the Sky Sting, it's a beyond visual range air-to-air missile, a BVRAAM, comes from RAFAEL Advanced Defense Systems in Israel, and they're billing it as a sixth-generation BVRAAM. That's quite a label.
It is. Sets expectations high.
And the specification that changes the whole game is its operating range. We're talking up to 250 kilometers, that kind of reach.
Well, that's the bedrock for India's new push towards air dominance, isn't it? Absolutely. And it's important to see the partnership context here. This kind of technology transfer doesn't happen overnight. Israel has, they've spent years building this level of trust with India. They've moved from being a general supplier to, as some sources put it, India's closest and most reliable ally for the really high-tech stuff. And this is all rooted in shared security concerns, stability in the Indo-Pacific, stability in the Middle East. There's alignment there.
Makes sense.
And for India, this isn't just a nice to have. They need this capability now. Bringing in the Sky Sting is explicitly about closing a critical gap in their long-range interception abilities. Without something like this, they're potentially vulnerable to standoff attacks, from systems like the Chinese PL-15 missile that their rivals operate.
So it plugs a gap.
Exactly. It's a crucial high-end stopgap measure until their own indigenous program, the Atra Mk-3 missile, is fully ready. And that's not projected until, 2029? Maybe 2030. So you have this 5-6 year window that is strategically vital. This missile covers that.
Right. So the Sky Sting isn't just powerful. It's like an insurance policy against immediate threats while their own tech catches up.
Precisely. A very necessary one, it seems.
Okay, let's shift to tactics then. That 250-kilometer range, it enables a completely different way of fighting in the air, doesn't it? The sources we looked at talk about establishing a look-first, shoot-first, destroy-first advantage, basically hitting targets way before enemy planes even get close.
Yeah, and that's where the technical details become really critical for operational dominance. You need more than just range on paper. To get a kill at that distance, you need speed, obviously, but sustained speed. The Sky Sting is genuinely hypersonic. We're talking speeds above Mach 5. And crucially, that speed helps create a massive no-escape zone. The figures mentioned are over 150 kilometers.
Okay, hold on. For listeners maybe not deep into missile tech, explain the no-escape zone. Why is 150 kilometers so deadly?
Right, good question. So the no-escape zone, or NEZ, is basically the area around the target where once the missile enters it, the target aircraft physically cannot outmaneuver or outrun the missile, even if the pilot pulls maximum Gs, tries every trick. The missile just has too much energy, too much speed advantage left to guarantee an intercept.
Wow, so inside 150 kilometers, the pilot has almost no chance.
Effectively, yes. Once a solid lock is achieved and the missile's within that NEZ, the probability of kill becomes exceptionally high. And the power, the energy to maintain that lethality deep into the engagement comes from its engine. It uses a 3-pulse solid-fuel rocket motor.
3-pulse, how's that different?
Well, many traditional BVRAAMs use dual-pulse motors. 2 bursts of acceleration. The 3-pulse design is key because that third pulse can provide a significant burst of acceleration later in the flight, during the terminal phase. So just when the target is likely trying its hardest to evade, maybe deploying countermeasures, the missile gets another kick of speed and maneuverability. It makes it much harder to defeat.
That sounds incredibly effective. But, we always hear that future conflicts will be electronically chaotic. Jamming, countermeasures, How does the Sky Sting handle that? Speed isn't everything if you can't see the target, right?
Exactly right. And this is arguably where the missile really shines, where that 6th-gen label might actually mean something. It has an advanced RF seeker, but it's backed by sophisticated electronic countermeasures, ECCM. Plus, it incorporates AI for target discrimination.
AI, so the missile is thinking.
In a way, yes. The AI helps it sift through the electronic noise. Think about a scenario over the Himalayas. It's going to be a mess of jamming signals, decoys, chaff, just pure electronic chaos. The AI helps the missile distinguish the real threat from all that clutter. Even if the launching aircraft's radar has lost a clean track or is being heavily jammed itself, it maintains its own lock.
So ECCM and AI working together, that sounds like it makes it incredibly resilient.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's built for that contested environment. And if you compare it directly to what adversaries are flying, its 250-kilometer range clearly outstrips China's PL-15E, which is estimated around 200 kilometers max range. It's in the same league, range-wise, as the European MBDA Meteor, which is highly respected. But the Sky Sting uses solid propulsion, not a ramjet like the Meteor.
Why does that matter? Solid fuel versus ramjet?
Well, solid fuel rockets are generally seen as simpler, more robust, easier to store and handle. Ramjets can be more complex logistically. For a large air force like India's, operating in diverse conditions, that reliability and ease of maintenance could be a really significant advantage.
Makes sense. Okay, so practicalities then. Integration, where is this missile going?
The plan is for the Tejas Mk1A and the Su-30 Mki, right?
Correct. Those are the primary platforms mentioned.
And the sources really emphasize the impact on the Tejas Mk1A. That seems like a big deal.
It really is. Currently, the Tejas relies on missiles like the Derby ER, giving it maybe 80 to 100 kilometers reach. Slapping the Sky Sting on it boosts that engagement range instantly to 250 kilometers. That's a massive jump in combat power.
It fundamentally changes the aircraft's role.
Yeah, it transforms the Tejas from, primarily a defensive fighter or shorter-range interceptor into a genuine long-range threat, a high-value interceptor.
Especially valuable in those sensitive high-altitude areas you mentioned, like Ladakh, along the line of actual control with China, gives it real teeth at distance.
Right. And that brings us neatly to the bigger picture, the geopolitical game change.
Exactly. That upgrade to the Tejas is sort of a microcosm of the broader strategic shift. This acquisition directly challenges the long-range capabilities fielded by India's main rivals. You mentioned Pakistan's JF-17 Block 3 carrying the PL-15E, and of course the wider, more advanced threat from China's own PL-15s and maybe even their developmental PL-21 systems. This missile levels the playing field, or perhaps even tilts it.
So it forces a rethink on their side.
Absolutely. And it also signals, as we discussed, a fundamental doctrinal evolution for the Indian Air Force. They're moving decisively away from a posture of primarily reactive air defense, scrambling to intercept threats already in their airspace, towards a proactive strategy of offensive air dominance. They want to use this long-range advantage to dictate the terms of engagement, push the fight further out.
And what about those really high-end threats? There's always talk about potential deployment of stealth aircraft like China's J-20 near the border. Does the Sky Sting help there?
Well, the sources suggest it does. Its ability to strike targets at such extreme distances, combined with what's likely a potent warhead. It could provide a significant layer of defense against stealth platforms trying to operate near the LAC. It forces them to stay further back or risk detection and engagement much earlier than they'd like.
Okay, let's try and picture it. Give us a tactical scenario, say an engagement over the Himalayas or maybe the Arabian Sea. A Sky Sting-armed Su-30 Mki fires from, let's say, near its maximum range, 250 kilometers out. How does that work? Does the aircraft have to keep tracking the target the whole time? That seems risky.
No, not necessarily. That's the beauty of modern data links and networked warfare. The launch aircraft might fire the missile and then turn away or go cold to minimize its own exposure. The missile receives mid-course updates via secure data link. These updates could come from the launch aircraft itself or from other assets like an AWACS plane or even ground-based radar networked into the system.
So it gets guidance updates on the fly.
Correct. The missile flies towards the predicted intercept point based on these updates. Then, as it gets closer, its own powerful seeker takes over for the terminal phase and for the enemy pilot. While facing a threat emerging from 250 kilometers away, they might not even get a clear warning until the missile is well into its final attack run.
By which point?
With its final pulse burn and AI-assisted maneuvering, evasion becomes incredibly difficult, maybe near impossible.
So the bottom line strategically.
The bottom line is this changes the calculus for air power in South Asia, period. Once the Sky Sting becomes operational in significant numbers, China and Pakistan simply have to reevaluate their entire approach. Their radar tactics, how they plan standoff attacks, their fighter deployment strategies, their whole combat doctrine. It all has to account for this new 250-kilometer threat bubble. India effectively shrinks their operational space.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, what's the main takeaway for you, our listener? Clearly, the Sky Sting is way more than just another missile. It's really a strategic instrument. It reflects this maturing, trust-based India-Israel defense relationship, and it's aimed squarely at achieving immediate air dominance, plugging critical gaps, and pushing India forward as a major aerospace power in Asia, one capable of serious long-range deterrence.
Absolutely. And maybe one final thought, something a bit more provocative for you to chew on. Beyond the immediate defense implications, this deal reportedly includes provisions for co-development and local production in India under their Make in India initiative.
Ah, the technology transfer aspect.
Precisely. This suggests the ultimate goal might be even bigger than just bolstering India's own defenses. It could be about leveraging this deep tech transfer to really build up India's indigenous defense industrial base. The long game, maybe transitioning India from being one of the world's biggest defense importers to potentially becoming a provider itself. Imagine India exporting these kinds of high-capability systems to friendly countries, perhaps in Southeast Asia. That's a whole other strategic dimension.
Positioning India not just as a power, but as a source of advanced defense technology. Fascinating stuff. A real long-term strategic play. Well, that certainly gives us something to think about. Thank you for helping us unpack this truly game-changing development.
My pleasure. It's a critical topic. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this discussion valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to the Geostrategic Podcast for more in-depth analysis on topics that shape our world. Stay informed, stay ahead, and stay tuned for the next episode.